There's also an element that is important to bring to this is that looking for a job is a job. It requires time and requires dedication and requires tears and requires blood. But it's the only way that you're going to guarantee that you're giving quality work to get the job of your dreams.
Welcome to the Hired Hub podcast, your ultimate guide to mastering the complexities of remote work and pushing your career forward.
Whether you're tuning in from the busy streets of Latin America or any corner of the globe, we're here to give you tools and insights to succeed in today's dynamic job market. I'm your host, Gaby Morales.
And I am your co-host, Jess Torres. If you're a recent graduate eager to leave your mark or a seasoned pro looking to redirect your career, you can join us as we explore the endless possibilities of remote work and career growth.
Get ready to unlock your full potential with the Hired Hub podcast.
Hey everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Hired Hub podcast. Today we're talking about what are recruiters looking for and some interview tips and coaching. Our guest for today is the Chief Operating Officer at Hired Remoteli, who will answer some of our burning questions related to these topics. But before we jump to our guest, how are you, Gaby?
Hi, Jess. I'm very good. Thank you for asking. I'm very excited, first of all, about the guest we're going to have today. It's someone I've known for some time now, and he's a great guy. I'm sure that he's going to have an answer to all of our questions. And secondly, I love today's topic because, again, like having the recruiter's perspective, it's like giving you, like you listeners, an insider perspective of how the mechanism works from the recruiter's end, what they're looking for, how they do their job. And it's really going to help you. I hope it's really going to help you improve your strategy for job searching by giving you a competitive advantage specifically on learning how to apply through Hired Remoteli, which is, our motherboard, say of some sort. It's going to improve your application strategies. It's going to help you understand better the process because sometimes you're a little bit lost in what the job search process is. And it's overall going to help you be better prepared for interviews in the future. So this is a great topic for today. Actually, we wanted to know from you guys what you thought. We posted a poll on LinkedIn. We asked you what you think are the biggest mistakes that candidates make during interviews. And upon the options that we gave, we put as options failing to articulate accomplishments, appearing disinterested or unprepared, not asking questions about the company, or overemphasizing, talking too early about salary and benefits. And I wanted to talk about the answers because they were a little bit polarizing. I can't say like there was a significant majority regarding an answer or another. Actually, if I look at the answers, I'm going to pull them right up here. Oh, the winning option was not having curiosity about the company, which is not asking enough questions about the company. Second was lacking enthusiasm, which is just not seeming interested or prepared for the interview. You also, third, chose struggle to highlight the wins or failing to articulate your accomplishments. And lastly, you guys actually mentioned that it's talking about or rushing to talk about salary, which is overemphasizing salary and benefits too early during the process. Again, this is your opinion. This is the listeners, our audience from Hired Remoteli. I'm sure that our guest has his own insights to share with us about this. So without further ado, Jess, I'm going to give you the honors to present this guest. And before we do that, I really want to thank you guys for participating in our polls. Keep in mind that we're going to keep sharing content. We want to make you a part of our show. We're going to keep sharing content on LinkedIn and also on our Telegram group, which is an exclusive group. We share things there first than in any other place. So if you want to know what's happening at the moment, just go to our Telegram group. Okay, so I'm going to let you introduce our guest, Jess.
Thank you, Gaby, for the update. I think the results are really interesting, and we sure are going to talk a little bit more about this further in this conversation. So now we want to welcome our guest, He brings over 10 years of diverse experience, and he currently is the chief operating officer and has spent 3 years as a recruitment manager in Hired Remoteli. With this experience and unique insights, he's well equipped to provide us the necessary tools and knowledge for success in interviews and the process of remote recruitment in selection. So, hello, Paul. How are you today?
Hi, girls. Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting.
How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, actually. These topics are very controversial. And, I think it's a great time for us to put that aside and be able to give candidates information that is valuable to them to be able to present their applications the best way they can.
Absolutely, absolutely. Paul, before we get into topic, I do want to ask you a couple of questions. Like, first of all, like Jess says, you have more than 10 years of experience. Can you give us maybe like a brief recap of where you started and how you ended up being the COO of Hired Remoteli?
Yes, for sure. For a surprise of many, I'm a petroleum engineer. I work as such for 7 years, and I have been working in different type of companies, like service companies, it's like government companies, and I have been through a lot of different, very long and very complex recruitment processes. Because I don't know if you know, but all industry recruitment processes are very long and complex, and maybe can take weeks, months, different rounds. And I also be a participant. And then after the pandemic hits, that's a lot of situations that change our perspective of jobs. And I thought at that moment that going remote will be a great way for me to try that, since on the all industry you don't have the opportunity to go remote that easily. At that time, today might be different. And I encountered myself with Hire Remoteli, and it was a great such opportunity in which the owner of the company saw in me the experience that preceded me, and put me in a recruitment role, because I was able to understand different type of profiles for different type of industries, and being able to give insight that maybe that I'm not from my HR background, but I can give technical evaluations. And in that specific process, I was able to gain all the HR insights while training myself on the job. And it has led me to get into the managerial position and handling a team, and being able to see all the operations that our recruitment department has. It has been a ride. And handling people and handling their desires and their dreams, and being in that position, it is great. Getting to know people, their story, their background, and their desires. It has been a very fulfilling opportunity. And really, I think I can say that that's been the best part so far.
Cool.
Getting to know people and talk.
Yeah, I think that exactly firsthand, when you just hear very beginning, oh, I'm an engineer in petroleum, you think, wow, that's a far fetch from this field. But at the same time, I've always found fascinating how engineers think, because it's just such a systemized way of thinking and structured. So if you think about it, after you talk about your experience, how you started and how you got here, it just makes sense to be in an operations position, and also in this field specifically. It requires a lot of systemizing. So it absolutely makes sense. I think it adds to your experience. It adds to your role. It makes it richer in knowledge. So because there's a lot of things that are transferable there. So thank you for sharing that. I wanted to ask you, within this process of becoming a COO and working in part of this business, is there any fun anecdote that you can maybe share with us in this process of learning or just changing from one field to another?
Yeah, you might be surprised. We can spend the whole session talking about funny anecdotes, but I think the most interesting one is that people, they don't want to be called by phone. People hate phone calls. And actually, when you are in a recruitment process, that is a vital aspect of it. We understand that we have evolved, that we have a lot of communication tools and channels to communicate to candidates, but mostly of our positions are very urgently required. So that requires for us to maybe pick up a call and make a phone call. And you found that people actually really hate being called by phone. So
Yeah, it causes anxiety for us to handle phone calls. But definitely when I'm looking for when I'm applying for jobs, it's definitely I do have my phone on rigor and are just a little bit more and I'm just a little bit more aware of the phone, but I hate having to answer it. That's true.
Yeah, that happens to me.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. Paul, before we get right into the topic, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about this poll that we had with our LinkedIn audience? Do you agree with the order of the results? Like, again, they mentioned that I think the thing that they think is the biggest mistake during interviews is first of all, not asking enough questions about the company. Then they said lacking enthusiasm. Third, struggling to highlight the accomplishments. And then fourth of all, they mentioned maybe rushing to talk about salary. Do you agree with that? Or do you think? What's your perspective there?
yeah, I'm not surprised, to be honest, at the results because they are very varied. And that really shows lack of knowledge of exactly what we are evaluating. And I think this is why these sessions are so important. And also the ones that are a little bit higher are not necessarily the ones that we're looking for as the most important one, because everything is prioritized.
Right.
So if you don't comply with the main part of it, all of them are necessarily not as important as the main one. And for us in the recruitment side, for a candidate not being able to showcase their successes and being able to sell themselves, that's the crucial part.
Okay.
And everything else is important if you are not able to sell yourself and being able to talk about your accomplishment or be able to talk about the things that you did right and why are you valuable and what will be a good asset for the position that we're looking for. So for us, that is crucial.
Yeah, you said it right. Like, you have to sell yourself. This is a matter of, hey, I'm here. This is the good things I do. And most people that get choose, like, it's because they know how to present themselves. That's amazing. Thank you for that.
And yeah, and if you have the ability to sell yourself, all of them are going to fall through. When you are capable to sell yourself, you're going to be able to look interested. You have the knowledge and the self-awareness to ask questions, and you will have the knowledge to know your worth and don't be so price oriented on the first reach out. So everything is kind of like related to that main aspect. Well, in our opinion, we handle the operations.
I totally agree, because specifically I was going to tell you, I particularly think that it's very important to be able to ask questions about the company because it shows confidence. But at the same time, like you say, like, it's all related in the sense that if you're able to champion for yourself, if you're able to present yourself well, that's going to come inherently. It's going to come naturally in the process. Like, you're not just only going to say, this is what I've done great, but then you're also going to need to know about that company. So asking the questions afterwards and having that confidence to do so, I think it's unnegotiable there. And it comes along with being able to showcase your talent and your skills.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's exactly how it is.
Yeah. So you mentioned that exactly there's a lack of knowledge in what is the recruitment process and really what recruiters are for. So let's start with it. Can you tell me a little bit about the process of finding a new team member and really how the process for a recruiter starts, and then we can walk along in the process?
Yeah, for sure. As you know, Hired Remoteli is a staffing agency. We handle both internal and external positions. There come from requirements internally or externally with clients in which they are requiring roles or positions to fill in. And, we make an analysis of the roles that are looking for. And based on that, we determine essential skills that are needed to fill out these positions. And we mark them down and we try to identify, because we do our recruitment based on skills. That's also a very important aspect of it. And that's also an element that candidates should look for. We are always looking for skills more than a role. So you need to, so it's a skill related role. It might sound redundant, but it's not, because it's not the same thing a content writer than a marketing content writer. So those are aspects that candidates should look for in the way they present their application. So when we develop a role based on the specific skills, we make a sourcing based on them, on skills, and we identify candidates that are able to showcase that they have the skills that we're looking for and they can back it up with prior working experience. And we validate that they can showcase that experience verbally and that prior experience on screening calls and interviews. And then we select the ones that they could be a match and could do the best of it.
And how do you normally validate those skills that you're telling us?
Nothing tells you more how a candidate is going to perform that the way that he have been doing it in the past. So we rely a lot in prior experience. We rely a lot in the capability that the candidate has to explain successes working with that skills in the past in prior positions, or that could mean, work or internships or volunteer work. It doesn't matter, but you have to showcase the ability that you have to have worked with it and have succeed with it. And that really showcase, and also that the candidate has the ability and the capability to be self-aware of terms of, I use these skills to solve this problem. I do this process, and this is the outcome that I get from applying it the right way. So they have to tell us this story. This is our approach in the way that they are self-aware of the skills that they have for us to be able to determine that they have it.
Yeah, you're right. And also feedback. Like feedback, it's a really important part where I think you can monitor your performance, and you can also talk with people like your managers. And I don't know, like feedback, it's really important after an interview. I think after all of the process is like, hey, why did I get picked? Or hey, I didn't? Sometimes I understand that there's so many applications that there's no a lot of time to do that with all of them. But I think feedback could be an important part of the process. Well, now we know that there's a teamwork, right, behind this recruiting process. How do recruiters collaborate with hiring managers to ensure they find the best candidates for open positions?
That's one of the most amazing things that we had on Hire Remotely, that we have an open office methodology in which all the areas work collectively towards a goal. So you have a recruiter, you have a recruiting manager, and you have a technical evaluator. And when positions are externals, you even have the client involved. All parties are involved, evaluating candidates, interviewing them, and giving insights about their profile. So in that way, both the candidate and all the parties and stakeholders involved can do a mutual assessment of both areas, because it's not only the hiring side evaluating, but also the candidate evaluating the company, the candidate evaluating the working environment, and the candidate evaluating the client. So we are very transparent. We are our processes and the people that are going to work for, and they have the capability to also ask questions and see how they will be working, and how is the working environment, and how they are going to cooperate in the way they are applying for. So it's a very collaborative offer. And also, it's a very collaborative effort, and that provides and assures us that all the parties involved are going to stay for the long run.
I have a question related to that. Do the job profiles that you guys post usually come from the employers, or do you guys prepare those after, meeting with the employers, with the client, like you say, and then understanding what they need?
That's a great question, actually. We usually, when they are external or even internal, we always ask the working unit or the working department to come up with a job description. That's the best way, because we put them to create something that they're looking for. Based on that, when we get that job description, we analyze it and we understand better their needs, and we go into a short meeting to discuss it, to understand better what is your expectations, how you're going to measure success in this person position, how do you see yourself a person thriving in this particular role, because that will give us also a sense of what there are expectations on not only for a role or a specific position that they're looking for, but how they're going to measure their performance. So we fine tune it, and we come up with a final product that's the one that the candidates see on our job postings.
Right. And again, follow-up question regarding all this process. So you guys, again, hired remotely is vital for, of course, the screening process, the hiring process, making the offer, even onboarding, right? But what happens then? Like, how involved are you in the process, not only for the employer, but also for the candidate after they are already working directly with the employer?
I think I can even say this, that our candidate experience is top priority for us. Our candidates have direct contact with our recruiters, and they can contact them directly on WhatsApp, and they can ask for follow-up questions. They are even coached by our recruiters, and they can test our recruiters right now. They're going to respond with the status of the application, because it's very important for us to keep this network of candidates, because we know that sometimes a candidate might not be selected for a position, but that doesn't mean that the candidate is not good. It's not great, to say
Okay.
the least. We like to develop this relationship with candidates, that we can come and go and ask them, and go back in a month, go back in 2 weeks, and have these open communications with them, that they also feel that they have the openness to ask about their applications, and also for tips and information. So all of our candidates can be assured that we're always going to respond, and we're going to give this feedback. And we are very involved.
Amazing. And it really helps for the job seekers. I feel like for my process, it was essential. Again, we've talked about this before on the podcast, both Jess and I. We used Hire Remotely for the positions that we have aside from the podcast. And it's been very helpful for us in the process. You guys are very helpful. Paul, I wanted to ask you, what do you think is the most value skilled that recruiters are looking for? And I want to break down this question. What is either the skill that's most transferable that you see as most common for employers to request for candidates to have?
I think that's a crucial question, and it's very important that you bring it up, because it might be very obvious, but at the same time, it's the hardest to find. As you know, we are a remote agency. We only hire for remote positions at the moment, and sometimes a lot of professionals have a hard time transferring their on-site working persona to our remote working persona. So I think the main and the most important skills to have in a remote work setting will be adaptability. And what that means, it means a lot of things. It means that you have the self-awareness to identify that you are working in a remote setting, and you need to maybe expand your skills into a way that can be transferable to our remote work setting. What does that mean by saying that? Well, if you need to communicate, you need to communicate a little bit more, because you are not in an office with people working in it. So you need to a little bit over communicate, so people can understand where you're at. And also adapt yourself a lot to be able to accommodate to our remote work setting, to people. We're working with people with different cultures, different languages, and you being able to convey the work that you're doing, and communicating in a way that is effective. And also you can smooth yourself out through all the processes that are being worked remotely. So it really requires a person that is flexible enough to understand all these specific criteria that are being going to be put in, and thrive in it. So it requires a lot of flexibility and self-awareness.
Definitely. This reminds me of the first podcast that we were talking about being adaptable. And it's hard. It's a learning curve where come from working from an office, but then you go back and then you start working from home. So it's quite understandable how you need to adapt, definitely, from changing from one environment to another. And now that we're talking a little bit about all of this adaptability, I wanted to ask you a little bit about interviews. Like, what interview preparation tactic you think has been the most helpful for you securing job offers, or something that you have seen with all of your experience, to all of the people that you have interviewed? Like, what is the main preparation tactic that you think this is something you need to know?
That's also a key question. And I think this is going to break a lot of ideas that maybe many candidates have, but it's shifting the eye of talking only about me to talking about the company that I'm applying for. What does that mean? It's not about going to an interview and talking, I'm this, I'm that, I'm good at this, I'm good at, no, it's going to an interview and telling the interviewer, this is my experience and I can do for you this, this, and that. And I can add value with my experience to the position and this, and that. And I'm good for this position because I have this, and this experience.
Yeah.
So it's not that you are putting yourself in the background, but on the contrary, you're putting yourself first other than all of the candidates, because nobody is going to have that confidence to go and say, hey, I have 5 years of experience in marketing. I have worked with a marketing agency similar to the ones that you have. As I saw, your company has worked with this niche. I have this of years of experience in the exact same niche, and I have been successful in this, and that. And with the successes that I have, they are similar to the one that you're looking for. I can add value to your agency just, like for me, for the starting point. So you are putting yourself in a perspective of the interviewer. So you are selling yourself right in the position. So that's exactly what we're looking for.
And I also think that that's the important question when we ask on the LinkedIn poll about what mistakes are you doing right now? It's like you're not asking enough about or searching before the interview. What is the company doing? Like, what are they needing? So that's really important that you brought that up. It's like, hey, for you to have a really good interview, you just need to investigate more about what's the company doing so I can be the perfect fit for that company. And thank you for bringing that up because it's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it is also an element that is important to bring to this, is that looking for a job is a job.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
It requires time and requires dedication and requires tears and requires blood. But it's the only way that you're going to guarantee that you're giving quality work to get the job of your dreams. And that will require adapting your CV to the job post, investigating the companies that you're looking for, preparing questions, because a lot of people, 80 or 90% of interviewers go to an interview without preparing to them. So the ones that are excelling on an interview, they prepare themselves with questions to have pointers in their head in the time to be able to give them, and they're going to feel more secure. So there is all these aspects that 90 or 80% of people are not doing, that if you invest a little bit of time, you're going to be, a golden girl or a golden boy when you go to an interview.
Yeah. Again, we're talking about tactics for interview preparation. And again, you just mentioned that looking for a job is a job, but it shouldn't be frustrating, or you shouldn't look at it as a frustrating process, because even if you fail in an interview, you've learned so much. Like that quote from Thomas Jefferson, I've not failed. I've just learned 10,000 ways that won't work. So don't see as a failed interview.
Love it.
As a failed interview, see it as a lesson. What else can you take from that? And again, it's great when you have the recruitment team reach out to you and actually tell you really what went wrong, or why probably you weren't the best fit for the company. But even if they don't, you can do that for yourself. You can try it in retrospective, see maybe what you could do better for a next interview, and prepare on that. So use it sort of like a practice mock interview. If it didn't work, if I didn't, proceed to another level of recruitment in the same process, I won't see it as a bad thing. Let me just learn what I can from this and let me do it better next time around. So definitely those are great ways. And again, it shows stoicism. It shows confidence. Again, people that have gone through many interviews, I feel like you can see that also, how confident they can become throughout the process. So it's definitely a metamorphosis of becoming, of starting off. I know that during the first interviews you're going through, I remember I was like 18 or 19 years old. I was going to interviews for the first time. I was freaking out. It was awful. It was terrifying. Now it isn't. Now every time that I have an interview and someone actually reaches out to me, I'm like, I got this. I got this. If they're calling me, if I'm part of the process, it means that I have possibilities. So I have to champion on that. I have to support my belief that I am capable and believe that I can do it. And even if I don't make it, even if it doesn't proceed, because maybe there is a better candidate for that position, I can't see it as a failure. I need to see it as something positive. So that's what I think. I think you should learn as much as possible from every situation that you have in your life, and specifically in this recruitment and in the interview process. There's so much to learn from. You just have to be very observant. You have to be very observant about how people react according to your answers during interviews, and see what you can pick up from there. And that will also fuel that confidence that you have and avoid you making mistakes in the future so that you can ace your interviews moving forward. Paul,
I love that.
I have experience in interviews, but also, and I wanted to talk about this. There's a reason why I know Paul, and it's not because we work in related fields, but also I worked in a high management position, so I actually have been able to be in the interview process of other candidates for the business that I work in. So something that I see is specifically that confidence gets you a long way. It's really an important part of it. Paul, I wanted to ask you, how important is body language specifically and nonverbal communication in an interview? And how can candidates improve in this area? Because I know that is something that sometimes is overlooked, specifically in this digital world where you're going to interviews through Zoom, through Meet. And I think people really don't take that a lot into consideration. What are your insights there?
Thank you for asking that, because it's very important for people to know. And you said it all. A lot of candidates don't take that as something that is relevant, but actually it really is. Like, for all of our candidates that are listening to us, put yourself in the evaluator position. They haven't gotten the opportunity to meet you in person. They don't know where you're at. They don't know exactly how you look, how tall you are. And you can tell that it might not matter, but actually it does, because you are developing a professional relationship with a professional that should look professional. So a lot of candidates, they don't take that into account. And first impressions are everything. And also in recruitment, we want to see if a candidate is reliable, if a candidate is professional, if a candidate is taking serious his profession and also the position that he's applying for. And that will transferable and that will translate in the way that they present themselves. And that will mean that the candidate is able to showcase themselves in a professional manner, and also in a professional body language. And a way to improve that will be, it's very simple. It's not like you have to present yourself in the way that you are not. On the contrary, but it really would require for you to like present yourself in a minimum professional attire. It's like whatever niche that you are used to work for, you should present yourself in the same way of clothing. And maybe you are going to be working remotely. Most of the time you're going to have your camera on, but we need to know that if you are very self-aware, to present yourself professionally when the camera is on. And that's really important. And also, you need to sell yourself. As I'm always telling, you need to put yourself in a position that it gives you the best way that you can present yourself. So I recommend put yourself in a background that is clean, because nosy backgrounds can be distracting. Put yourself in an area of your house that, a lot of people is not going to disturb you. People is not going to be walking in the behind. You're not going to have a lot of noise. So because all of the aspects might be distracting, and we want to focus on you, and we want to hear about your successes and how good you are. And we want to know all about you, and those elements are going to be distracting, are going to take us away from that.
Yeah, you said it, like nonverbal language and communication. It's really important. Like you can present yourself and you can say something, but your body posture is telling us something different. So I think that's a really interesting thing to analyze during interviews. I think that's really important.
Yeah. This brings me to another like a follow-up question. It's not strictly related to body language, but appearance. And I know that that's a touchy-feely subject nowadays, because, but specifically, we're talking Hired Remotely pretty much hires candidates for American or for North American jobs, right? Is it important in the American culture nowadays, appearance, specifically like what's related to tattoos or, hair or those things? Because like I live here in Chile, I've been living here for some time now. Everyone has tattoos. And it's really, I've seen lawyers, I've seen doctors, I've seen bankers, accountants working and with long hair and with an appearance that's maybe not stereotypical. So is that something that's still important in this remote world and for American culture still? Have you seen that pattern or something of the sort?
Actually, I think the best advice that I can give to applicants is that you have to look the part as your peers look. So I think that's the best advice that you can give. If you're going to apply to a design position, you have to, if you look as the professional setting that they are working with, you're going to be okay. And in terms of specific trends or tattoos and all this stuff, it doesn't matter. If you look the part in a professional setting as the person that you're applying for a specific job, so it doesn't matter really. We are looking forward to what is wrong will be is like if you present yourself in a unprofessional way, like with a home t-shirt with holes, and you see that the person didn't take care of your looks, or if you are presenting yourself in a sport attire that you are in a way that is not very well put together, that will give us the sense that you don't care too much to present yourself in a way that is proper, other than having tattoos and stuff like that I think is not relevant.
Right. So attire is important, but maybe physical appearance, it's a little bit more open to self-expression.
Correct. Yeah. Go for it.
I think that also gives you strength.
I like that.
That can also like give you character in an interview. So don't shy away from that. Like Paul said, and I totally agree with that. Don't stop being yourself. Like you still need to be able to showcase who you are.
Yeah. I hire a lot for creative positions, and we have a lot of cool people, a lot of cool candidates, and it's the vibe for them, and we totally get it, and we even encourage it, and we love it, and it goes in sync with the positions that they're applying for. It's not the same that you're going to hire for an accountant or a lawyer. That doesn't mean that they don't have tattoos, but maybe they need to present themselves differently. So it will depend of the position and role itself.
Yeah. And again, even that, I work with project managers, and you know how structured and organized they need to be. I have project managers that are filled with tattoos, and they are still like the best, like in their field. So again, it's definitely a matter of playing the role, like you say, like sticking to the role. But also I think it's important to still see what's in the paper, and exactly during the interviews, also like seek and talk about the skills precisely, because appearance at the end of the day shouldn't have much to do with it, regarding if the person is capable or not to carry out the job.
Yeah, you're right. As long as you're literally doing what they ask you to do, I think it's important to know and value the people for their skills. I know we've been talking a little bit about things that we can avoid, do or not do in the interview, but I really want to let things a little bit clear. So, Paul, what tips can you give us to avoid in an interview?
I think mostly not being prepared for it. that really is the worst. If you don't prepare yourself properly, it really shows, and we really can tell. So it's really just how much time you want to give to it, but really just even 15 minutes or 10 minutes prior, you go to a company's website, you read about it, you review again the job description, you have your CV handy, and you match yourself as possible the job description to your position. and you think about some examples of prior successes of work experience that you can bring to the equation and to the interview session, it will be amazing. But unprepared candidates, it's really, we can smell it.
And I had a question regarding that. Like, what would be a red flag on a candidate? What do you think will be, hey, this is weird for me. I might not hire you because of this. Like,
Exactly. What do you see in an interview that you say, oh, no, right away, no?
You might be surprised that in the remote and the digital era, a lot of candidates, they seem to be a little bit entitled, and they might be acting rude because since they are not actually going to a place or a company to take an interview, some candidates might feel that they have the openness since they're working from home to act themselves in a way that a little bit more out of open and cordial relation that you're going to have with a peer. So for us, we are very polite and we want to give the best experience possible. And, we also expect that our candidates can present themselves in a way that is amicable and professional.
Yeah, that says a lot about you, if you're polite or not during the recruitment process. Because again, recruiters are mediators, but that does not mean that they're not serious about their jobs. And again, they're at the end, they're
Correct.
benefiting also you in the process, because I've seen recruiters that champion for their candidates. Again, like seeing the part of the Hired Remotely team that we've been working to hire candidates, to hire to fill in positions for the company I work for. I've seen cases where you guys really champion for the candidates that you see that are viable. So again, it's important to really value the work of the recruiters. I think that's a great tip that you can give there. Things to avoid, again, courtesy. Like, do not avoid courtesy. The more that we can tell our audience, the better. So do you have any other thing that maybe you see too commonly in interviews, and it's usually like a turnoff for recruiters and even employers?
Yeah, I think some tips that I can give is, of course, not showing interest. It's important that, because we are not only looking for people that can do the position, but also that wants to, because it's not the same thing. You can be the perfect candidate and you can have all the qualifications, you can have all the experience, but if you are not excited about the position, it's not going to come through. So we look for those specific areas. We are looking that you can technically do it, and also that you are willingly wanted to do it. So we evaluate that in the sense that you are showcase that you're interested in the position, that you see yourself doing it, that this is something that is going to help your career grow, that this is something that is going to help you get to where you want to get professionally. So you need, it's not only just for applying, but you need to showcase you're interested in the position, and you have to articulate it, because if it don't, it's going, if it comes another candidate that maybe is in the same position as you, or maybe has less qualifications than you, but is really passionate about it, it might cost you the position. So really be able to showcase it. And that also goes to the way that, I don't know why most candidates think that following up with your recruiter is a red flag, but it's all the contrary. Like, we love candidates that can follow up with us, that ask us, hey, where's my application at? Hey, I haven't heard from you in a little bit. Can you tell me what is the status of my application? What are the next steps? And you willingly, and you don't have a problem to write an email to a recruiter, to give them a call, or even sending a message. That's totally fine and okay, and we like it. And it showcase proactiveness, it showcase interested. And even if you are not selected, we say, hey, this person wants to work with us. Let's keep it in our hot for another. Yeah. So follow up with your recruiter.
That's great. That's such a great insight. Like, honestly, I would have never thought of that. Like, I usually, when I've been in that position of applying, I'm usually like, oh, I'm going to be a bother here, reaching out to this person.
Not at all.
But actually, now that you say it, it's like so great to hear that, because I think that a lot of people are going to act differently, and it's going to give them an advantage. Like you say, like, maybe not for this position, but it keeps you on top of mind for the recruiters. And if they
Correct.
see that your profile is still good, maybe not for that position that you applied, they'll keep you into consideration for any future positions. So that is still giving you an edge, and that's good to integrate to your application strategies. Follow up with your recruiters. That's great insight, Paul. Thank you very much.
I love that.
Yeah, candidates need to see it as this. Recruiters, their job is to close a position. So they're actually want candidates to be able to close it. So if you're thinking that it will be a bother, that is not the right company or the right recruiter for you. Because if a recruiter is interested in you genuinely to close his position, he's going to be responsive and he's going to be following up with you and he's going to be interested to keep you engaged. So you have the open door because it's their work to close the position, and you have invested time, you have invested your interest in that particular position. So you have all the right to follow up with it.
Awesome. I wish we could go on forever with this topic because it's so good. I'm sure that maybe we could do a dynamic on LinkedIn to continue this conversation. Unfortunately, our episode is coming to an end. Before we finish, Paul, I wanted to ask you, how do you stay updated on current interview trends and best practices to provide the most effective coaching? And what advice can you give someone that's going to be interviewed soon?
Yeah, I love that question. You have to keep updated. After the pandemic, all the businesses change, and moreover, recruiting migrating to remote mostly have changed the way that they recruit. So you need to go online and not only search for locally, but if you're going to apply for American countries, you need to search American sources like Harvard Business Review, Forbes, LinkedIn, newsletters. You need to put yourself in the position of the recruiter of the country or company you are applying for. So you're always going to find newsletters like Harvard Business Reviews is a magazine that I love, that it gives you all the tips that you need from the American perspectives that will give you a lot of edge. And also LinkedIn itself has a newsletter for recruiting and interviews that is the best. I love it. You have no idea. I have trained myself based on those because they give you so amazing and insightful information that is going to change not only the way that you approach interviews, but also the way that you work and you see work for yourself. So I will highly recommend it. And for people to preparing themselves for interviews, put yourself on your evaluator seat and see how they will find and how they will search. And that will give you an insight on how you need to prepare yourself to an interview. So that's the best advice that I can give you.
You're right. And I also love how LinkedIn has helped us with that. Like there's a lot of webinars, groups, workshops. Like I love that. Like sometimes when I need to know something like about a topic, I usually go either YouTube or LinkedIn to look for any webinar or a workshop or to see what's going on there. Like if I want to be updated on trends or something, that's something I really do. I do keep doing every single day, and I try to investigate more. And yeah, I just love that. And really, thank you so much, Paul, for your time. This wraps up today's episode, and we want to extend our sincere gratitude for staying with us until the end of this episode and encourage you to stay tuned in and to be updated on this new episode that comes. We look forward for accompanying your journey toward finding your ideal job. So thank you again, Paul, for being here with us. It was a pleasure. Hope you can be on our next episode somewhere talking about a different topic. And I'm just so happy to have you here.
I'm so happy to have spent this time with you guys. It was amazing. Thank you for inviting me. This was a blast. I loved it.
Thank you, Paul. You've been a great guest. We hope to have you back soon. That wraps another episode of the Hired Hub podcast. We hope you found today's discussion empowering and insightful.
Remember, success in the world of remote work is within your reach, and we're here to support you every step of the way.
Be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more expert advice and engaging conversations. Please give us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify to help us reach more people who can benefit from the Hired Hub podcast.